The moment it happened, I felt the entire party freeze around me, voices thinning into static, music fading like someone pulled the plug on the night. I was standing near the back patio, pretending to blend into the shadows the way I've done my whole life, when my sister Chloe grabbed her CEO boyfriend's arm and dragged him straight toward me. Her smile was sweet enough to rot. "This," she announced loudly, lifting her glass so everyone could hear, "is my sister Hannah, the failure of our family." Laughter rolled through the crowd, my parents first, like it was an inside joke they'd been rehearsing for years. Heat flooded my face, but I didn't dare move. I'd learned long ago that humiliation was a family tradition. Chloe's boyfriend, Ethan, watched silently at first, studying them, studying me, then his mouth curved, just slightly. "Interesting," he said softly. "Because Chloe, you're fired. And we're done." Growing up in my family felt like living behind a curtain everyone else forgot to open. I was there, breathing, moving, existing but never truly seen. Whenever I think back, my memories don't feel like scenes from a childhood. They feel like old surveillance footage, grainy, distant, detached from the warmth other people attached to the word home. Chloe, on the other hand, was the sun our household revolved around. If Chloe wanted something, the world bent for her. Ballet classes, summer camps, overpriced costumes, weekend getaways. My parents moved mountains to make sure she never felt a moment of inconvenience. Meanwhile, I learned very early that wanting things was dangerous. It made Mom sigh dramatically and Dad say, "Hannah, be realistic. You're not Chloe." I remember a specific afternoon when we were 12. Chloe forgot her science project at home, the one Mom basically made for her. The school called. Dad didn't yell at Chloe. He didn't ask why she forgot. He turned to me instead, his voice sharp enough to cut. "Why didn't you remind your sister?" As if my entire existence revolved around keeping her life from falling apart. Chloe didn't even look guilty. She just shrugged and said, "You know I'm busy. Hannah should help more." That became the theme of my life. Chloe performs. Chloe shines. And I pick up whatever she drops. Birthdays? Hers were events with themes, balloons, photographers, and choreographed performances. Mine were dinner. Sometimes a store-bought cake if her schedule wasn't too full. Praise? She inhaled all of it before it even reached me. And whenever I tried to step forward, speak up, ask for something, Mom would place a hand on my shoulder with that soft, poisonous tone she used only with me. "Hannah, sweetheart, don't make things harder. Let Chloe lead. You're better when you stay quiet. Quiet. Invisible. Convenient." So I learned how to exist without taking up space, moving softly through rooms, dodging Chloe's spotlight, swallowing disappointments before they even reached my tongue. I wasn't the problem child. I was the forgotten one. But the thing about growing up in the shadows is this. You start learning to see things other people ignore. You start noticing cracks in the perfect daughter performance. You start hearing the rehearsed nature of your parents' praise, the desperation behind their obsession with projecting the perfect family image. You start understanding that their golden child isn't golden, she's just loud enough to drown you out. Still, no matter how invisible I felt, nothing prepared me for the day Chloe would stand in the center of a party and humiliate me like it was sport. Nothing prepared me for the way my family would laugh. And nothing prepared me for Ethan's reaction, the first real crack in their perfect little theater. But maybe that was the beginning. The day the curtain finally tore open. Coming back to my hometown after 2 years felt like stepping into a photograph I didn't remember posing for. Nothing had changed. Not the perfectly trimmed hedges in front of my parents' house. Not the overly polished front door. Not even the stale, show-home scent my mother insisted on maintaining as if strangers might walk in any minute to inspect her life. I wasn't returning out of longing. I came because Mom texted me 3 days earlier. "Hannah, don't embarrass Chloe at the party. Dress nicely. Ethan will be there." "No, how have you been?" "No, we miss you." Just a warning, thinly disguised as advice. I should have ignored it. I should have stayed in my tiny apartment and eaten leftover Chinese takeout and watched reruns until the night passed quietly. But I went. Part of me still hoping for what, I don't know. Maybe a softer tone. Maybe a different ending. Maybe just acknowledgement that I existed. The moment I stepped through the gate into the backyard, I knew I'd made a mistake. Warm lights wrapped around the trees like vines. Jazz music drifted through the speakers. Expensive wine sloshed in glass after glass. Every table was covered with white cloth and decorated with gold-rimmed centerpieces because when Chloe hosted a party, subtlety died first. I stood at the entrance for a moment, taking everything in. No one noticed me. No one paused their conversation. No one said, "Hannah, you're home." I was a ghost slipping into someone else's celebration. Then I heard Mom's voice. "Hannah, there you are," she said, walking toward me with a critical sweep of her eyes. "Couldn't you have worn something less plain?" I swallowed. "It's a normal dress, Mom. It's fine," she sighed dramatically. "Just try not to draw attention." I almost laughed. As if that was ever a risk. Dad walked over next, patting Chloe's shoulder as she arrived beside him, glowing with the confidence of someone who'd never once been denied anything in her life. "Hannah," Dad said, barely glancing at me. "Don't ruin Chloe's night. Ethan's team might come by. Big opportunity for her." Chloe smirked, tucking a curl behind her ear. "It's fine, Dad. She won't be in the way. She never is." Her words slid under my skin like thin needles. I tried to escape to find a quiet corner where I could breathe without being compared, judged, diminished. I stood by the drink table, letting the hum of conversation fade into background noise. Watching Chloe glide through the party like it was her kingdom. Watching Ethan trailing behind her with polite small talk and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I noticed that detail. I always notice the things no one else sees. For a moment I thought maybe, just maybe I could get through the night unnoticed. But people like my sister don't allow moments like that. Not when there's an audience. Not when there's applause to be harvested. And the truth was simple. Chloe had been waiting for this opportunity. To perform. To dominate. To make sure everyone knew exactly where I belonged. And she wasn't going to let me slip through the cracks tonight. I should have known the moment Chloe looked in my direction the party was about to turn into a stage, and I was about to be the punchline. She excused herself from a group of guests, grabbed Ethan's arm with her perfectly manicured hand, and began guiding him across the patio with that smug, bouncing stride I'd recognized since childhood. I felt her eyes lock on me like a predator spotting prey. "Don't," I whispered under my breath. But of course, Chloe didn't believe in mercy. "Hannah!" she called out, loud enough for conversations around us to pause. "Come here a sec." My stomach tightened. Ethan followed her, looking confused but not enough to stop her. People subtly shifted their positions, angling their bodies toward us, sensing entertainment. Chloe loved an audience. She planted herself in front of me, tilting her head with a smile that could slice a person clean open. "Everyone," she announced, raising her glass. "This is my sister, Hannah." A few polite nods, a few confused stares. Then she delivered the line she'd been rehearsing her whole life. "The failure of our family." Laughter broke out, instantly sharp, cruel, eager. My parents were the first to laugh. Of course they were. Mom shook her head dramatically. "Oh, Chloe, you shouldn't say that," she giggled, even as she wiped tears of laughter from her eyes. Dad chimed in. "Well, she's not wrong." I felt myself shrinking, folding inward like paper in a fire. My throat tightened. My pulse throbbed in my ears. I forced myself to stand still, but my legs trembled beneath the strain. Chloe leaned in closer. "Tell them what you're doing now, Hannah," she said, emphasizing every word. "Or is there nothing to tell?" I clenched my jaw. "I'm working," I said quietly. "Working?" Chloe snorted. "At that tiny place you ran to after quitting every decent opportunity Mom and Dad gave you?" "That's not what—" But she cut me off, as always. "Hannah, it's fine," she cooed loudly. "Some people just aren't meant to be successful. Or responsible. Or—" "Chloe," I snapped. "Enough." The crowd reacted like they'd just seen a deer raise its voice. Chloe's smile widened, venomous and victorious. "Oh, sweetheart," she purred. "I'm just being honest. You should thank me." I felt the sting of tears pushing up, but I refused to let them fall, not here. Not in front of these people. Behind Chloe, Ethan finally spoke. Softly. Calmly. But with a tone that sliced through the air like ice. "Chloe, what are you doing?" She flipped her hair and laughed, trying to brush him off. "Relax, babe. This is just how we joke. Hannah knows her place." My heart cracked at that phrase. Her place. The spot they'd built for me. The box they'd shoved me into my entire life. "I'm serious," Ethan repeated. firmer this time. This seems cruel. Chloe's smile faltered for half a second. Then she recovered, tightening her grip around his arm. Oh my God, Ethan, don't be dramatic. She's literally fine. Ethan's gaze drifted to my face, really drifted, like he was noticing something for the first time. The trembling hands, the held breath, the pain I was too practiced at hiding. Conversation around us died completely. The backyard fell silent, waiting. Chloe lifted her chin, preparing another line, something sharper, something fatal. But she never got the chance. Ethan inhaled slowly, then exhaled like a decision had just settled on his shoulders. And for the first time that night, maybe in my entire life, someone looked at my family and didn't join the laughter. He saw me, and that changed everything. Ethan didn't raise his voice. He didn't look angry. That somehow made everything worse. He simply stood there, hands in his pockets, studying Chloe the same way a surgeon examines a tumor before deciding where to cut. Chloe, he said again, this time quieter, steadier. Why did you talk to her like that? Chloe scoffed and tossed her hair back. Ethan, seriously? This isn't a big deal. Hannah knows we joke like this. Don't you, Hannah? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat felt locked. Mom stepped forward, placing a manicured hand on Chloe's arm. Ethan, dear, it's all in good fun. Hannah's always been a little sensitive. A little sensitive. Their favorite way to invalidate every pain they ever caused. Dad chimed in, arms crossed proudly. Yes, no need to overreact. Chloe's been under a lot of pressure at work, her promotion, her big project, her leadership responsibilities. Ethan cut him off, not loudly, just firmly enough to slice through Dad's monologue. Her what? Dad blinked. Her project. The big account you assigned to her. He gestured toward Chloe like presenting a prize. She told us she saved the whole campaign. Ethan turned his head slowly, eyes pinning Chloe with a look that made her freeze. Oh? He said softly. She did? Chloe laughed, high-pitched, brittle, desperate. Babe, why are you looking at me like that? You know I delivered. I told you how I— You told me, Ethan interrupted. A lot of things. The crowd began shifting. Unease rippled through the patio like a cold wind. Ethan finally let his hands slip from his pockets. His voice had lost its softness, just a clean, clinical calm. Chloe, I reviewed the project files yesterday. Chloe's face went sheet white. And, Ethan continued, I checked the metadata. My heart skipped. Her eyes darted around wildly, searching for a lifeline. Ethan, she whispered, stop. But he didn't. Your name, he said, was nowhere in the original drafts. Not once. A wave of whispers rolled through the crowd. Chloe shook her head violently. That's not true. I revised. No, Ethan said firmly. You copied. You reassigned ownership. You deleted the original file from the server. He paused. And you tried to cover the tracks. Poorly. Mom stepped in front of Chloe, hands raised like she was protecting her daughter from an unfair accusation. There must be some mistake, she insisted. Our Chloe would never steal. Steal. That word hung heavy. Ethan turned to her, completely unimpressed. Ma'am, he said. The audit log shows her username at every step of the deletion process. Download. Delete. Replace. Re-upload. It's all time-stamped. Dad stared at Chloe, expression beginning to fracture. Chloe, tell him he's wrong. Chloe swallowed hard, trembling. Ethan, please. Not here. This is my family's party. It's exactly why I'm saying it here, Ethan replied. Because this, he gestured around the patio, this performance explains a lot. Then his gaze shifted. To me. And for a moment, it felt like the world narrowed to a single point. Hannah, he said quietly. You didn't deserve what just happened. I froze. People actually turned to look at me, a miracle in itself, Ethan continued, voice steady. And now that I've seen how they treat you, I understand how Chloe treats everyone else. A silent, electric crack split the air. Chloe lunged forward, grabbing Ethan's arm. Stop it, Ethan. Please, this isn't fair. But Ethan pulled his arm away with a finality that looked almost rehearsed. Fair? He repeated. That's the one word you shouldn't be using right now. He faced the crowd again, this time with decision written across every line of his posture. And I knew. The night wasn't even close to being done with us. The tension didn't ease. It thickened heavy, choking like the air before a thunderstorm. Chloe tried to grab Ethan's arm again, her voice shrill and cracking. "Ethan, please stop talking. This isn't the time." "It's the perfect time," he replied, stepping out of her reach. Then he turned toward the backyard gate and said, as calmly as if announcing dessert, "Elijah, bring it." The gate creaked open, and in walked Elijah Price, the company's CTO, laptop tucked under his arm, expression unreadably serious. People murmured. Even Dad straightened up when he saw the second powerful man arrive. Mom blinked. "And who is this exactly?" Elijah didn't bother responding to her. He walked straight to Ethan and opened the laptop. I felt my stomach twist. Whatever was about to happen, it wouldn't be small. Ethan took the laptop, angled the screen toward Chloe, and said quietly, "Recognize this interface?" Chloe went pale. Her lips trembled. "Ethan, why did you bring him here?" "To show your family the truth," he answered simply, "since you value their opinions so highly." He tapped the trackpad. The screen lit up with the company's internal drive. Multiple icons, folders, versions, time stamps. Then one file name stood out. Brand Rework Final V3. Chloe's project. The one she bragged about to literally everyone. Ethan clicked it open. Then he scrolled to the metadata panel. Her name was nowhere. Instead, created by Ava Monroe. Edited by Ava Monroe. Initial concept, Ava Monroe. Chloe stuttered. This is wrong. This is obviously wrong. Someone changed." Elijah lifted a brow. "No one changed anything. Metadata is locked on creation. And Ava came to me 2 weeks ago crying because she knew you'd stolen her work." Chloe's breath left her in a broken gasp. Dad took a step forward. "Chloe, tell me they're lying." I didn't, Dad. It's just a mix-up, I swear." Elijah clicked again. A pop-up opened. System Audit Log Version History. And there it was. Plain as day. User. C. Hartley. Actions. Download 142A. Delete original. 143A. Upload modified copy. 144A. M. Mom covered her mouth. "Oh my God." Ethan's voice remained coldly even. "You worked in our office after hours without authorization, Chloe. Every step was logged. Even the camera footage matches your login time." Chloe shook her head violently, desperation rising like a scream she couldn't let out. "I was fixing it. The original wasn't good enough. I just adjusted it. That's not stealing." Elijah closed the audit log. "That's exactly the definition of stealing." Chloe backed away. "Stop, please just stop." But Ethan wasn't done. He projected the screen onto the patio wall large enough for the entire backyard to see. The crowd gasped. Neighbors whispered. Relatives shifted uncomfortably. The evidence was undeniable. Email threads appeared next. Lines of Chloe rewriting history. "Ava is still not ready to handle major accounts. I had to salvage the direction last minute. Hannah couldn't handle pressure in the past either. I'm carrying this team. My name." Dragged through the mud as part of her narrative. She dragged me to lift herself. My chest tightened, but for the first time, the pain didn't make me smaller. It made me stand straighter. Dad grabbed Chloe's arm. "Chloe, what is all of this?" Chloe sobbed. "Dad, please Dad, don't listen. It's not like that, I didn't mean." But Ethan cut in again, voice colder than ice. "You lied. You manipulated your team. You sabotaged another employee. And you humiliated your own sister to distract from the fact that your career is built on stolen work." Then he turned to Elijah. "Elijah, show the camera footage." "No," Chloe screamed. But it was too late. A short clip played. Chloe entering the office late at night, plugging in a USB, deleting the original file, re-uploading a modified version. Silence. Complete, devastating silence. My mother sank into a chair, whispering, "Chloe, what have you done?" Chloe wiped her tears with shaking hands. "It wasn't supposed to be this way. I was supposed to, I wanted to look perfect," Ethan finished, "even if it meant destroying people." His eyes flicked briefly toward me. "Especially your own sister." Chloe collapsed into sobs. And for the first time in my life, the spotlight wasn't on her achievements, but on the truth she'd spent years running from. The golden child was crumbling, and everyone finally saw it. The moment the footage ended, silence clung to the air like smoke after an explosion. Chloe wasn't crying pretty tears anymore. She was shaking, face blotched red, mascara streaking down her cheeks like war paint melting off. Ethan closed the laptop and handed it back to Elijah. Then he turned to Chloe with a calmness so sharp it felt violent. "Chloe Hartley," he said softly, "you're fired." The words landed like a hammer. A brutal, clean, irreversible blow. Chloe's breath hitched. "No, no, Ethan. You can't do this here. Not in front of everyone. Please, let's talk inside." "It wouldn't matter where we talk," Ethan replied. "The decision stands. But I'm your girlfriend," she cried, reaching for him like a drowning person, reaching for a rope. Ethan stepped back, his entire body recoiling. "Not anymore." That's when the second blow hit. "Chloe," he added, "we're done." I was no become para. Her scream cracked through the yard. "No, Ethan, don't leave me. Please, please, I messed up, okay? I messed up. Everyone messes up. Just give me another chance." Ethan shook his head slowly. "You didn't just mess up. You built your career on lies. You tore down teammates to keep yourself on top. And worst of all," he glanced at me, "you tried to humiliate your own sister to cover your guilt." Mom suddenly stood up, tears in her eyes, not for me, of course. "Ethan, please," she pleaded, grabbing his arm. "Don't throw away years with Chloe because of some office nonsense." He looked at her like she had said something incomprehensible. "This isn't nonsense," he said. "This is integrity. This is accountability." Dad stepped forward, face twisted in anger. "Are you trying to ruin my daughter?" he barked. "You think you can just walk in here, humiliate her, humiliate us, and—" "No," Ethan interrupted, eyes narrowing. "Your daughter humiliated herself, and you helped her do it for years." The entire patio gasped. Dad looked like someone had slapped him. "You don't get to talk to me like that. And you," Ethan continued, voice rising just enough to silence the crowd, "don't get to pretend you raised Chloe to be anything other than entitled and unethical." Mom's jaw dropped. "How dare you? How dare you?" Ethan snapped. "Laugh while your daughter verbally attacks her own sister?" My heart stopped. No one had ever said that to them. Not once. Dad jabbed a finger at me, voice shaking with rage. "This is your fault," he hissed. "You turned Ethan against Chloe. You made him think we're terrible parents." "I didn't say anything," I whispered, stunned. And that was the truth. I had done nothing, absolutely nothing. And somehow, that was still a crime in my family. "You didn't have to," Dad said. "You've always poisoned everything. You ruined this night. You ruined." Ethan cut through him like a blade. "Mr. Hartley, if anyone ruined this night, it's the woman who tried to destroy her coworker's career and then mocked her own sister in front of 40 people. Dad froze. Mom opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time in my life, they looked small. Not powerful. Not untouchable. Just small. Chloe screamed again, raw, angry, desperate. "Why are you all attacking me?" she sobbed. "I worked so hard. I deserve what I have. I deserve success. You deserve consequences," Ethan said. She collapsed to her knees, shaking uncontrollably. Mom ran to her, clutching her like a broken doll. "Hannah," Dad spat suddenly, turning toward me. "Are you happy now? Are you satisfied? You finally got your moment, huh?" Something inside me cracked. "No," I said quietly. "This wasn't my moment. It was hers. She created this." He sneered. "Don't pretend you're innocent. You've always been jealous of her." I laughed, a short, humorless sound. "Jealous? Of what? Being treated like glass while everyone else gets cut on the shards?" Dad stepped closer, towering over me. "You don't talk to me like—" Ethan suddenly moved between us, posture protective. "Back away," he warned. Dad looked shocked, like no one had ever told him no in his entire life. Mom clutched Chloe tighter, whispering frantic reassurances. "They're lying. They're jealous. You're special, sweetheart." Chloe sobbed into her mother's shoulder, gasping for breath. And I stood there, heart pounding, realizing something unbelievably painful and liberating at the same time. No matter how many truths were shown, no matter how much evidence was displayed, my family would always choose Chloe's innocence over my existence. I wasn't the failure. I was simply the scapegoat they'd built their world around. Ethan turned to me quietly. "You don't have to stay here," he whispered. "Not tonight. Not ever again." I looked at the chaos, my parents panicking. Chloe breaking down, relatives whispering, neighbors staring. For once, none of it belonged to me. None of it was my burden. And for the first time in my life, I stepped away. Not out of fear, but out of freedom. When I stepped out of the Hartley backyard that night, the air felt sharper, like winter itself was trying to cut away whatever pieces of me still clung to that house. My hands were trembling, not from fear, but from something I couldn't name yet. Freedom? Shock? Relief that didn't know how to breathe? Ethan followed a few steps behind me, but he didn't speak. He didn't have to. Silence, for once, felt kind. At the front of the driveway, he finally asked, "Are you okay?" I almost laughed. Okay? I had just watched my sister implode, my parents reveal their real hatred for me, and my entire childhood narrative shatter like glass dropping onto concrete. But somehow, I felt clearer than I had in years. "I will be," I said. "Not tonight, but I will be." Ethan nodded, like he understood something deeper beneath my answer. Then he opened his car door for me. "Come on," he said gently. "You're not staying here." I didn't argue, because he was right. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. "Mom, how could you let this happen to your sister? Dad, you created drama and destroyed Chloe's reputation. Congratulations." "Mom again. You owe us an apology. And Ethan should apologize too." Not one message asked if I was okay. Not one message acknowledged what Chloe had done. It was like watching the same old play, just with higher stakes. Ethan texted around noon. Ethan. 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 If you need space, take it. If you need support, I'm here. If you want to talk about work opportunities, we can discuss that too. Work. He didn't owe me anything, but he still offered. I stared at the message a long time before replying. Me, thank you. For everything. I didn't expect any of it. Ethan, you deserved better. You still do. Those words hit deeper than I expected. 3 days later, rumors spread fast. Relatives called me whispering, "Hannah, is it true? Did Chloe really steal that project? Your parents said you exaggerated everything." I got blamed. I got painted as the villain. I got cast as the jealous sister. The same narrative they'd used on me for years. But this time, it couldn't stick the same way. There was evidence. There were witnesses. There was a CTO with a laptop full of truth. Yet still, my parents refused to look at any of it. And that was when something in me finally broke cleanly. Not shattered, not wounded, but cut free. "I'm done," I whispered into the empty space of my apartment. "I'm done trying to belong to them." At the end of the week, Ethan asked to meet for coffee, just a simple conversation, no pressure. That morning, for the first time in years, I actually cared about what I wore. Not to impress him, but because I felt different. Like maybe I was stepping into a version of myself I'd never had the chance to be. When I sat down, he didn't mention Chloe. He didn't mention the party. He didn't mention the chaos. Instead, he slid a folder toward me. "What's this?" I asked nervously. "Your future," he said, "if you want it." Inside was a proposal. A junior strategist position at his company, real title, real salary, real growth, real respect. A job based on my portfolio, not my sister's shadow. I stared at the papers until my vision blurred. "You don't have to decide today," Ethan said softly. "But Hannah, you're talented. And you deserve a place where people see that." I closed the folder, pressed it to my chest, and took a deep breath. For the first time in my life, someone wasn't asking me to be less. They were asking me to be more. I used to think healing happened in big, dramatic moments like the ones movies are built around. But I learned something in the weeks that followed the party. Sometimes healing is quiet. Sometimes it's a slow rearranging of the pieces you thought were permanently broken. And sometimes, it starts with a single choice. I accepted Ethan's job offer. Not because he felt sorry for me. Not because of Chloe. Not because of revenge. I took it because for the first time in my life, someone looked at me and saw potential instead of inconvenience. My first day at his company felt unreal. I walked into a bright, open office where people smiled, not the tight, judgmental smiles I was used to, but genuine ones. They shook my hand, asked my name, asked what I liked working on. No one compared me to Chloe. No one made me feel like I didn't belong. I had a desk, a space, A title with my name printed on it. Hannah Hartley. The name I had carried all my life suddenly felt like it belonged to someone worth noticing. Mom sent long, emotional paragraphs about how I hurt Chloe, followed by passive-aggressive reminders that family means forgiveness. Dad left me a voicemail blaming me for tearing the family apart. Chloe unfollowed me on everything and then, bizarrely, blocked me, like she needed to erase my existence to feel whole again. But here's the truth I finally accepted. You cannot lose what you never truly had. I didn't lose a family that night. I walked away from an illusion. It happened on a random Tuesday. I was sitting by the window in my little apartment, warm light spilling across my new desk. Papers and notes from my projects were scattered everywhere, messy but mine. I was eating pasta from a bowl and reviewing a campaign Ethan had asked me to look over. The city outside buzzed softly. Rain tapped against the window like a gentle reminder that the world could be quiet and alive at the same time. And then I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't bracing for impact. I wasn't waiting for someone to tell me who I should be. I was building a life, not reacting to one. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Ethan popped up. "Ethan, proud of your work today. You've got something special, Hannah." A warmth spread through me, steady, grounded, surprising. I looked out the window again and whispered to no one. "I'm not the failure of anyone's family." And that it was didn't was to stand. So, and for the first time, I truly believed it. I don't know what the future looks like. Maybe Ethan and I will grow closer. Maybe we won't. Maybe my family will eventually face themselves. Maybe they never will. But I'm no longer building my life around the maybes. All I know is this. I walked into that party as the invisible daughter, the scapegoat, the afterthought, the girl who tried too hard to be chosen. I walked out as someone else entirely, someone who finally realized her worth wasn't something others could assign or take away. My life didn't begin when Chloe failed. It began when I stopped trying to win a rigged game. And wherever I go from here, I'm going as someone I can finally recognize. Me, Hannah, whole without permission,